Welcome to Vedic Wisdom for Modern Life. Today we are exploring how the Vedas help you find life purpose.
Yeah, it is such a vital topic for today.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
think about it. You work incredibly hard, you solve complex problems, you fulfill your daily duties to your family.
Right, you check all those societal boxes and you just keep everything moving forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But even with a calendar completely packed full of activity, there can be this undeniable kind of unspoken emptiness underneath it all. Just a persistent little voice asking, where am I actually going?
Because, well, it turns out that moving fast is just not the same thing as moving with purpose.
It really isn't. And in this deep dive, we are stepping away from the world's borrowed definitions of purpose. The achievements, the visibility, the wealth.
Yeah, we are exploring how Vedic wisdom guides you toward inward alignment. The goal is to transform life from this exhausting, restless search into a conscious, intentional offering.
Because right now, the whole idea of finding your purpose just feels so heavy. It feels like this massive burden. Why does it feel so exhausting before we even start looking?
Well, it is a widespread modern condition, really. We try to cure that underlying emptiness by simply doing more. We assume if we just hit the next milestone, the meaning will magically arrive.
Right.
But you can stand right in the center of massive responsibility, holding up the sky for everyone around you, and still feel entirely disconnected from what your life is ultimately meant to serve.
So if we strip away that modern messaging, which tells us our value is tied to building an impressive image, what are we left to aim at?
We have to analyze the mechanics of that burden first. What's fascinating here is that modern life demands we essentially solve our entire future all at once.
Oh, yeah, like one fell swoop.
Exactly. We are conditioned to believe there is one perfect, monumental path out there, and if we don't find it, our existence is somehow unjustified. And when you carry the weight of having to figure out the next 40 years of your life by tomorrow morning, your nervous system is just in a state of perpetual anxiety. You aren't exploring, you are panicking.
That makes total sense. I mean, it is like trying to pick a major in college, but for your entire existence. We assume purpose has to be this grand, visible achievement.
Right. And at 18, you barely know who you are, but you are asked to declare a path that dictates your identity.
Yeah, but college eventually ends. When you are out in the real world without that structured environment, where does that pressure lead us? Okay, let's unpack this. Why do we inherently expect our purpose to come with a trophy or an audience?
It almost inevitably leads to the trap of comparison. Because we don't have a clear internal blueprint, we look outward for clues.
Right. You scroll through social media, or you observe a colleague who seems incredibly confident.
Yeah, and your brain makes a faulty calculation. It says, well, they look happy and important, so my life must need to look exactly like theirs.
Oh, definitely.
But the Vedic tradition brings forward a hard, necessary truth here. Dharma is not imitation. Your life's architecture is entirely unique. What brings profound satisfaction to one person might severely disturb the natural disposition of another.
I want to push back on that slightly, though. If someone else has figured out a formula for a meaningful life, why wouldn't we want to borrow it? Imitation is how we learn almost everything else, right? Language, skills, habits.
Well, we learn techniques through imitation, yes, but we cannot learn our soul's nature through imitation. When you try to wear someone else's purpose, it might look incredibly impressive to an audience.
Right, it looks good on paper.
Exactly. But internally, it creates immense friction. The sages understood that a borrowed purpose leaves the heart exhausted because you are constantly spending energy trying to sustain a character you are not.
Wow. Dharma is not imitation. That is so powerful.
Yeah, and while outer achievements like paying the mortgage or building a retirement fund satisfy practical worldly needs, they cannot answer the deeper existential longing.
Because if your sense of purpose relies entirely on external results, it is dangerously fragile.
Precisely. It rises and falls with the shifting opinions of your boss, your peers, or your social media followers.
So, if we can't rely on the world's applause or a borrowed roadmap, how do we actually navigate forward? How do we find direction?
This is where Vedic wisdom introduces a highly specific tool, the concept of Dharma.
Okay, Dharma.
Yeah. Instead of demanding you map out your entire future, Dharma acts as a moment-to-moment compass. It is the path of rightful living that upholds and brings order to reality.
Right.
And it operates on multiple layers. There is the immediate Dharma of your present reality. Your unglamorous daily duties, your role as a parent, a neighbor, an employee.
Like the immediate stuff right in front of you.
Exactly. And then there is the broader Dharma of refining your character, becoming a more truthful, self-governed human being.
A compass is such a different paradigm than a map. I mean, a map implies you can see the whole journey from start to finish. I often think of this like driving a car with your headlights on in a thick fog. You don't need to see the driveway of your final destination.
Right. You just need enough light to see the next 20 feet of road to take the next right step.
Exactly.
And the most critical part of that fog analogy is understanding what happens when you let anxiety take the wheel.
You crash.
Exactly. If you speed up, if you let your fear of the unknown force you to drive faster than your headlights allow, you crash. Dharma is about moving at the exact speed of your current clarity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When you are deeply uncertain about the big picture, Dharma asks you to focus entirely on the step immediately in front of you. It asks, what is truthful right here?
Right. What is clean, sincere, and aligned in this specific conversation?
Or, this specific email I am writing. What choice leads to inner strengthening rather than inner fragmentation?
But the problem is, most of us do the exact opposite. We wait for total certainty before we make a move. We sit in the driveway waiting for the fog to lift completely.
Which guarantees the fog never clears.
Right. We want the grand revelation, and while we wait, we neglect the messy, immediate responsibilities right in front of us.
And the Vedic understanding is that clarity is a byproduct of action taken in alignment. It grows through doing the right thing in the present.
Right, rather than waiting for some grand answer.
Exactly. Think about the difference between Dharma and the ego. The ego's operating system asks, what will make me look impressive right now? How do I secure my status? But Dharma's operating system asks, what is the necessary and right action here, regardless of who notices? Meeting your mundane responsibilities with absolute sincerity gives real structural shape to your purpose long before you can see the end result.
But practically speaking, how does a modern person actually hear that compass? I mean, it sounds beautiful in theory, but my inner life, and I imagine the inner lives of everyone listening, is incredibly loud.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we have a relentless stream of notifications, the pressure of inflation, the expectations of our families. How do you hear a subtle compass over the deafening noise of the modern world?
Well, you are describing the state of constant overexposure.
Right.
What many people diagnose as a deep existential confusion about their life's purpose is very often just the symptom of having too many voices in their head. You have a dozen imagined futures pulling at your attention simultaneously.
Yeah.
You simply cannot uncover subtle, profound truths in a mind that is constantly rushing, reacting, and consuming.
Okay, let's unpack the mechanics of that, because here is where it gets really interesting. In all that noise, it is so easy to mistake a burning desire for a true calling.
Oh, yes, that happens all the time.
Right, and a desire can sound incredibly urgent. It can feel like destiny. How do you, in the heat of the moment, tell the difference between an ego-driven hunger and a genuine dharmic calling when both of them feel so overwhelmingly intense?
It requires cultivating a very specific kind of inward honesty, and the first step is recognizing that intensity does not equal truth. Let's look at the signature of a desire.
Okay.
Desire is almost always rooted in an unexamined insecurity. It flatters your ego. It whispers, if you finally get this promotion or this relationship or this house, you will finally be safe and superior.
Right.
And crucially, desire demands immediate completion. It makes you impatient. A calling, however, has a completely different energetic signature.
Wait, really? How does a calling feel, physically or emotionally, compared to that impatience?
A calling asks for a steady offering of your energy. It requires patience, humility, and long-term discipline.
Okay, so it doesn't just flatter the ego.
Not in the slightest. In fact, a true dharmic calling might place you in incredibly difficult, unglamorous situations, but here is the key difference.
What's that?
Even when it is exhausting, a calling does not haul you out. It doesn't leave you feeling internally compromised or dirty. Chasing an ego-driven desire often leaves you feeling agitated and restless, even on the day you finally achieve it.
That distinction is huge. So even if the calling is hard, it leaves you feeling inwardly clean.
Yes. Purpose ripens gradually. What starts as a simple duty or even a confusing phase can later reveal itself as the exact training you needed.
But how do we get the silence required to notice that feeling? You mentioned the necessity of inward honesty. But if someone has a mortgage, an intense corporate job, and a toddler crying at 3 a.m., They can't just take off for a silent meditation retreat in the mountains.
And Vedic wisdom does not ask you to.
Well, that's a relief.
Yeah, the silence the sages speak of is not necessarily an acoustic silence. It is a cultivated non-reactivity. It is the practice of pausing for literally 3 seconds before you respond to a triggering email.
Oh, I see.
It is the choice to wash the dishes without also listening to a podcast, planning tomorrow's meeting, and arguing with someone in your head.
Right, just being present.
Exactly. You carve out micro moments of presence in the middle of the chaos. In those unglamorous moments, you begin to observe the frantic nature of your own mind without getting swept away by it. That is where the compass reveals itself.
And as you start tuning into that compass and carving out those micro moments of presence, it seems like the trajectory naturally shifts outward. You realize you aren't just doing this for yourself.
No, you aren't.
The search for purpose inevitably transforms into service.
It is an unavoidable evolution. When your existence is centered entirely around accumulation, like what you can extract from the world or how much recognition you can hoard, your confusion deepens.
Because the ego is rarely satisfied.
Yes, the ego operates like a bottomless pit. It cannot be satisfied by its very nature. Service is the mechanism that breaks you out of the suffocating prison of self-preoccupation.
Wow.
It is the realization that your specific intelligence, your unique skills, your capacity for compassion were not given to you solely for your own private glorification.
So what does this all mean for us today? We are constantly told to find ourselves by focusing hyper-intensely inward on our own desires.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it is a radical correction to the modern obsession with needing to feel special.
Right, the modern narrative is all about optimizing our personal branding and maximizing individual happiness.
Yes, but the Vedic sages understood that we actually find ourselves by giving our life force away to something greater. Today, we waste so much energy trying to figure out what makes us extraordinarily different from everyone else.
Yeah.
But purpose isn't discovered by asking how you can stand out. It is discovered by asking, what truthfully given life force can I offer to the situation in front of me? And we need to be very clear. This service does not need to be newsworthy.
Right. It doesn't mean you have to quit your job and start a global nonprofit.
Not at all. It can be the profound patience you offer to an aging parent who tells you the same story for the 5th time today.
Oh, that is so true.
Or it can be the spreadsheet you format at 4 p.m. on a Friday with uncompromising integrity, simply because it is your duty to do it well. Right. It can be the quiet, unseen help you give to a struggling coworker without leaving your fingerprints on it so they can keep their dignity. When ordinary, mundane actions are performed in this state of dharmic consciousness, they become deeply sacred.
That completely reframes the daily grind. It means the purpose isn't waiting for us at the end of the work week. It's embedded in the work itself.
Yes.
But if service connects us to the world, the Vedic tradition points out that all of these worldly roles, the parent, the employee, the friend, are ultimately stepping stones toward an even higher target.
Yes. Beneath all the shifting roles we play, there is the ultimate invitation of human life, to know the self.
To move from fundamental ignorance to profound wisdom.
Exactly. The tradition emphasizes that you are not merely your changing personality. You are not your anxieties, your career title, or your physical body. The teachings describe your deepest reality as the witnessing consciousness.
And we need to break that down because witnessing consciousness can sound like, heavy spiritual jargon. If I am an accountant or a nurse or a mechanic listening to this right now, what does it actually mean to be the witnessing consciousness?
Let's use an analogy. Imagine you are sitting in a movie theater. On the screen, there is a chaotic, intense movie playing out. There are car chases, heartbreaks, explosions, and moments of great joy.
Yeah, real blockbuster.
Exactly. As the audience, you get completely sucked into the drama. Your heart rate goes up, you might cry, you might feel terrified.
Sure, you're totally invested in what's happening.
But what is holding all of that drama? It is the blank, silent screen underneath.
Oh, wow.
When there is a fire in the movie, the screen does not burn. When there is a rainstorm, the screen does not get wet. The screen simply holds the experience, entirely unharmed and unchanged by the events playing across it.
So my anxieties, my career successes, my daily frustrations, those are all just the movie.
Exactly. And your true self, the witnessing consciousness, is the screen. It is the quiet awareness that is watching you have the experience of being an accountant or a parent or someone stuck in traffic.
I can imagine someone hearing that and thinking, well, if I am just the untouched screen, why should I care about the movie at all? Why should I care about paying my taxes or fixing my leaking roof or resolving an argument with my spouse.
Right. It sounds like an invitation to just detach from reality completely and stop trying.
Exactly.
But that is the most common misunderstanding of this philosophy. What is so elegant about Vedic wisdom is that it never forces a choice between worldly responsibility and spiritual awakening.
It doesn't ask you to abandon your life.
No. The movie, the daily grind, the challenging work environments, the taxes, the leaking roof, that is the exact classroom designed for your self-purification. You don't escape the world to find the self. You use your interaction with the world to awaken.
So the challenges of the movie are what teach you to recognize the screen. Your outward duties become the very dumbbells you lift for inner evolution.
Beautifully said, yes.
Which means a simple, unglamorous life lived with truth and self-awareness is infinitely more purposeful than an outwardly famous life lived in total forgetfulness of who you really are.
And realizing this removes an immense amount of existential dread, because your outer purpose, your specific role in the movie, is guaranteed to change.
Right. The role you play in your 20s is vastly different from the role you play in your 70s.
But your highest purpose, to realize you are the scream, to come closer to the divine, remains a constant, unbreakable anchor through every single season of your life.
To bring this all together, the Vedic path doesn't hand you a convenient label to stick on your forehead so you can finally stop searching. Purpose isn't a destination you arrive at. It is a quality of presence you bring to the current moment.
Right. You discover it gradually as your life becomes more honest, more disciplined, and more surrendered.
You don't need to force the whole 40-year answer right now. The next dharmic choice you make, no matter how insignificant it seems, is your purpose in action. If this deep dive resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share in the comments how you are trying to apply this Vedic wisdom to your own daily life. Your journey matters, and we truly love reading about your experiences.
As you step back into the momentum of your day, I want to leave you with one final question to explore on your own. If your purpose is truly found in the immediate, unglamorous step right in front of you, rather than some grand future achievement, what are you currently using as an excuse to avoid doing the small, necessary thing you know you need to do right now?